Well, I don't think this one needs a massive introduction. You've clicked on it already, and behind me you can see a 747, an A380, and believe you me, it doesn't end there. I'm at the Paris Air and Space Museum in Les Bourget, around 25 minutes away from Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, or about 45 minutes away from Paris Orly, which is where I flew into this morning with low-cost carrier Vueling. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll pop a link up top. But for now, keep watching, because I'm going to take you on an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour of the Paris Air and Space Museum. After landing into Paris Orly, I jumped in an Uber and headed straight to Le Bourget. And here we are outside the famous Paris Air and Space Museum. The cost at the time of publishing this film is just €17, which is an absolute steal in my opinion, and the museum occupies the old Art Deco terminal, with the site now being most famous for hosting the Paris International Air Show. Once you're inside, you'll receive a handy map, and you simply scan yourself into the first exhibit, Les Pionniers de l'Air, the Pioneers of Air. And this is where we begin, in the very first hall of the Air and Space Museum, a space dedicated to the men and women who dared to imagine flight long before it was reliable, safe, or even fully understood. This fascinating hall tells the story of aviation's earliest pioneers, engineers, inventors and pilots who pushed fragile machines made of wood, fabric and wire into the skies, often with little more than intuition and courage to guide them. These were aircraft flown without radar, without pressurised cabins, and without the safety nets we take for granted today. You'll see some of the very first flying machines ever built, experimental, delicate and sometimes wildly ambitious, each one representing a step closer to controlled, powered flight. It's here that aviation shifts from dream to discipline, from curiosity to science. What's remarkable is how quickly progress happened. In just a few decades, aviation evolved from tentative hops above open fields to aircraft capable of crossing borders, seas, and eventually continents. Many of these pioneers paid a heavy price for that progress, but their breakthroughs laid the foundations for everything that followed. Standing in this hall, you're not just looking at old aeroplanes, you're standing at the starting point of modern aviation itself, and it really is fascinating. And after taking it all in, it was time to head outside to explore even further. So I'm outside on the terrace here, the runway or the taxiway as it were here at the Museum of Air and Space in Paris Le Bourget. And what's cool about this museum is it is still a functioning airport to this day. It's kind of a tale of two halves. So behind me, this building here with the tower is kind of a bit sort of disused now, and that's really where most of the museum is, and its kind of exhibits and all that are housed from day to day. And then in front of me now as I talk is the modern sort of airfield that, that's still in operation today, and it's mainly accommodating sort of private jets and business operations. But it's so cool that, you can just walk out here, €17 it costs you to get in, and you can just walk out, and not only can you see some incredible planes from the past, you can watch a little bit of operations that are going on right in front of me now, and you can also take in the delights of the A380. So here is the first aircraft. It's the Airbus A380. This one is F-WWDD, and this was one of 5 test prototypes built by Airbus. And it now sort of resides here at the Air and Space Museum. And I was just saying to somebody I was chatting to a couple of minutes ago, it's pretty cool to be so up close and personal with an A380. Very similar to that experience in the 747 cafe over in Bangkok. This is probably, I would say, unless anybody wants to correct me, the closest you can come to seeing an A380 and almost touching one without actually flying on one in this day and age, and they are becoming increasingly more difficult to get on unless you want to, get yourself on a long-haul flight. If you don't particularly like flying long distances or getting yourself out at least to the Gulf, then your A380 days might just be over. But if you come here, you can at least experience the magic of it, and it's so unbelievably big. How this thing ever gets off the ground amazes me. But it's not the only sort of super jumbo that's here, and I might just have given it away. But yes, around the corner is the Queen of the Skies. But before we get to the majestic Boeing 747, let me show you some of the other aircraft on display here. First we come to this Air Provence Sud Aviation SE210 Caravelle 12, which marked the revival of civil aviation after World War II. It was France's first civil jet transport aircraft and was an international success. With its turbojet engines mounted on the tail and its fully hydraulic flight controls, it had impressive innovative features. Several versions were made, and this aircraft flew with Sterling Airways from 1972 to 1983, before travelling on to Air Inter and finally Air Provence until 1995. Next is this Transall C-160G, an electronic reconnaissance aircraft used by the French Air Force to collect electromagnetic signals and support military planning and operations. Here we have a Dassault Mercure, a short-haul airliner that took its first flight in May of 1971. Designed at the end of the 1960s to compete with the railways on internal French routes, the Dassault Mercure is the only aircraft to be made by the manufacturer. Air Inter, the only airline to operate the aircraft, did so until 1995, with this particular exhibit, F-BTSD, joining the museum after nearly 36,000 flight hours. Also on display is this water bomber aircraft used for civil security and firefighting missions. You also have these housed military jets outside, like this Dassault Super Mirage, as well as a Nord Aviation 262E frigate, which remained in service until 2009 for the French Navy. There's also this BR-1150 Atlantic, which was built in collaboration with Germany, Holland and Belgium for rescue and anti-submarine warfare missions. So now completing a bit of a childhood dream and having flown on the 747, I've done it, I've ticked that box. I was in the exclusive 747 club, which is awesome to say. I'm now walking underneath the 747, and this is probably the closest I've ever come to sort of being on the exterior of a 747. When I flew with Virgin Atlantic over to Las Vegas on the Boeing 747, was boarded via an air bridge, so didn't even have the fun today of boarding it with the stairs, which are behind me, which we're going to do now, and it's absolutely amazing. And as much as I love the Airbus A380, I really do, it's a great aircraft, it's awesome, it is a marvel of modern engineering design. The 747 is even cooler because you've got to think about when this was designed, how cool this was. This was the plane that everyone wanted to fly on. So, we're here, it's behind me. Let me show you on board. And here we are, we're aboard that Air France 747 that was retired in 1992 and now resides at the Museum of Air and Space here in Paris. Pretty cool, it really is. It's like being taken back in time. They really have done an amazing job with this. So I'm going to go through and show you step by step because it's kind of in different sections, economy, La Première as was, and engineering and avionics base. So before we get to that, let me show you each section in detail. The first section we come to is Premiere class, reserved for the creme de la creme in society in the nose cone of the 747. It's completely untouched and as it was when the aircraft was retired. The galleys are completely untouched too, frozen in time. Imagine the crew working hard to serve all the hundreds of passengers on board this Boeing 747. Well, on the upper deck of the Boeing 747 now, a plane that was retired in '92, so 2 years pretty much before I was born. The cockpit is behind me and it's absolutely incredible. It's so well preserved. And then behind me now is the Air France salon, which was for the exclusive use of, first class passengers. And I just sort of sit here and think, what stories have been told up here in this lounge? Who's sat up here? Who's sat on that very sofa and had a drink? I bet you some really, really interesting people have over the years. And when you get on these old aircraft that are kind of sat around in museums, it does make you think about the people that have flown on them over the years. Next up is an original section of economy class, and the seats have been kept in absolute pristine condition. What do you think this would score out of 10 nowadays? How times have changed. And this little section is cool because, well, we'll get into it in a second, but it means I can do even a 747 from 1992 toilet review. No one's safe. The team have kept an original toilet fitting from the 747 on board, and whilst it was exceptionally clean, there was certainly a draft coming from the open plan style loo. A section below has also been cut out, allowing you to descend into the cargo area of the aircraft. Here you can see all the important mechanical and manufacturing elements of the Queen of the Skies, coupled with how cargo, like this very car, fitted on board. It really is huge down here. And here we are, back out in the open air. That was a really cool blast from the past, and just like that 747 Cathay in Bangkok, another fine example of a wonderful organisation who's not only took on a 747, but kept it going strong and given it another new home. Hopefully, in 20 or 30 years, it'll still be here. After descending the Queen of the Skies, I marvelled in its sheer size and beauty from the ground whilst doing a walk around. Opposite the 747 is the gift shop and also the cafe named Les Hélices, so it was only right I stopped off for a little bite to eat. The food is super quality with dishes like sweet potato and chestnut gratin with cheese, fresh hake fillet with saffron cream and rice, or French sausage with truffled mashed potato and pork gravy. Who knew museum food could taste so good? Well, you've seen the 747, you've seen the Airbus A380, but now let's do the creme de la creme. Let's go and see Concorde. Yeah, even I'm a bit excited about this. just wow. Not one Concorde, but two for the price of one. Absolutely stunning display. This one here, the Air France Concorde, which is literally above me now. Let me move out of the way so you can see it properly. But it is absolutely unbelievable. This is F-BTSD, and of course, an actual flying Concorde. This one has jetted all around the world on those fantastic luxury missions for Air France, and it's unbelievable to see it. Now, I've seen the Concorde at Heathrow. I was very, very lucky enough when I was young to watch Concorde land and take off out of Heathrow when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I don't remember too much of it, just the sheer noise. This thing really did kick out a lot of noise. So underneath the wing of F-WWDD, which was the prototype for Concorde, there's stairs up, so let's go and take a look and see exactly what this looks like on board. I'm looking forward to this one. So here we go, I'm climbing up the rear of the prototype Concorde F-WWDD, going very carefully because it is really, really small and quite thin. It's certainly not built for people of my size, but here we go, we're aboard, and this is pretty spectacular. The prototype unit lies completely empty, with its cabin full of features and fixtures, such as all the testing equipment and original labels. There's huge cabinets that documented original flight data and recordings during its testing phase, each cable recording a specific element, panels that staff used to man, and of course that famous pointed cockpit. What must it have been like to fly this machine for the very first time? So jumping off this prototype Concorde, saying goodbye to her, and yes, you have to duck because the windows and doors are very, very small. They weren't made for tall people, put it that way. So there she is, that's the prototype, and we're now jumping aboard this bad boy. This is Sierra Delta F-BTSD, which was the last Concorde in the Air France fleet. It also broke the round the world record, albeit with a layover for speed, and used to carry the Pepsi logo as well for that famous marketing campaign. So let's get aboard, and I'm going to show you exactly what it was like aboard F-BTSD all those many years ago, for those people who had the absolute thrill of flying supersonically. Stepping inside Concorde's F-BTSD is like walking into the future as it was imagined decades ago. The cabin is narrow, purposeful and unmistakably Concorde, designed entirely around speed, efficiency and performance. From the compact seating to the distinctive windows, everything here reflects an aircraft built not for comfort, but for crossing the Atlantic at twice the speed of sound. This is aviation history at its most iconic. This is pretty spectacular. I mean, it's so small. That's one of the things you realise if you look at where my head is. I'm 6 foot exactly, so anybody taller, including my husband, would certainly be crouching and getting a bit of a stiff neck. But incredible that this thing flew. It really is. It takes your breath away. It's an incredible marvel of engineering. Do you think we'll ever see supersonic flight back? I know there's so much talk of Boom and all sorts of different companies trying to get supersonic flight going again, but do you think we'll see it? Let me know in the comments below. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. But this is pretty special. An amazing experience. I've actually got goose pimples. It's that cool. I mean, that it's got to be one of the coolest planes we ever designed on Earth. What an absolute privilege and pleasure to walk down that plane. Well, both of them, to be fair, because they're both incredibly intrinsically linked. That prototype setting the bar for commercial supersonic travel, and then, of course, Sierra Delta taking it into the sky. Pretty impressive and pretty unique experience. I'm sure so many of you have beaten me ahead of the sitting on a Concorde or walking down a Concorde. It's taken me till I was 31 years old to walk down the aisle of a Concorde, and it was absolutely worth every second. This was a poignant reminder that behind every aircraft is a story of human ambition, triumph and loss, and why these machines always still matter. Opposite the Concorde Hall is an exhibition dedicated entirely to prototype aircraft, helicopters, and experimental machinery. It's a fascinating blitz through aircraft that could have been, or should have been, some brilliantly imaginative, some wildly impractical, but all proof that aviation has always advanced by daring to try. Next on our stop is the World War II aircraft hangar, a space that brings together some of the most important machines of the conflict, each one telling a story of innovation, urgency, and the sheer scale of aviation's role during the war. Standing just outside are two Ariane space rockets, a powerful reminder of Europe's role in space exploration and the sheer scale of the engineering involved. Step inside the Space Hall and you're taken on a journey through satellites, launch vehicles, and human spaceflight, charting how ambition, innovation, and curiosity pushed aviation beyond the atmosphere and into orbit. Finally, you'll find yourself here in the gift shop, filled with aviation-inspired souvenirs. I spotted a Concorde model and, well, yeah, I couldn't resist. It now sits proudly on my studio desk. But there's plenty more here too, from thoughtful mementos to unique pieces that let you take a little bit of the museum home, or simply celebrate a love of aviation beyond the visit itself. Well, that just about wraps our time up here at the Museum of Air and Space in Le Bourget, Paris, and I hope you've had a really good look around with me, and I hope you've enjoyed the video too. This really is proper proof that this is how you run an aviation museum in 2026. We've had military aircraft, commercial, Airbus A380s, 747s, and who could forget that supersonic delight of Concorde. I hope you've enjoyed the video, I hope you've enjoyed the tour, and if you are coming to Paris, be it for a wee little city break, or you've got a bit of time to kill flying into Charles de Gaulle or Orly, I definitely recommend you come and spend half a day here, because if you're a similar type of plane geek that I am, you really will have a great time. Thanks ever so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you never miss another upload. Plenty more aviation, travel and hotel content coming your way. See you in the next one.